two distinguished guests, gentlemen that I've met over the recent period of time, and I would like to call them friends, also see that as mutual. But we have Duer, the commissioner of the Southwestern Athletic Conference. Many of you all know that as the SWAC. If you would please welcome to the front, Duer. We also have with us the Executive Director of the Celebration Bowl, John Grant. As we're getting ready for the presentations, the order of business today will be a two-part. We'll do this. One part is more for the students in regards to these gentlemen telling you a little bit about their background in terms of how they got into the business, and then even more so a little more about exactly what do they do in their business roles. And then the second part will be in regards more to our faculty that are here in regards to looking at our research and how research could possibly help you all in terms of the work that you do. So let me give a little background on Duer. Duer was named the commissioner of the Southwestern Athletic Conference in 2008. He is the 5th commissioner since its founding in 1920. He fueled the SWAC potential reaching achievements in technology, national media exposure, while preserving the rich tradition and development to honor the heritage theme that many of you seen as the brain. Sharp was actively involved in in terms of the Birmingham community. In 2009, he was named the Birmingham Business Journal Top 40 Under 40 list. Sharp was also actively involved in youth clinics, the Worship Center Christian Church, and the past Birmingham Chamber of Commerce. His many accolades are too long to list. We can get into those. We'd rather get into the conference. He goes all the way back to New Jersey, and returns to his home. Probably understand that area, as well as playing football at Wisconsin. Many of you know that in terms of the Big Ten Conference. Many of the commissioners, Mike Slide, formerly of the Southeastern Athletic Conference, SEC as you know, Jim Delaney, currently of the Big Ten Conference, have speak highly in terms of what he brings to the table. We also have, as I said, John Grant, Atlanta businessman, who was appointed the Executive Director of the Celebration Bowl back in 2015. Before that, he was over the 100 Black Men in Atlanta as the Chief Executive Officer for 14 years. He joined that organization in 1988 at the age of 30 and really pushed that organization forward in one of the top organizations in terms of 100 Black men across the country. And including of that, many of you may be familiar with formerly the Atlanta Football Classic. He was the impetus in terms of pushing that forward into the heights it is, which put him in the position to take over the Executive Director position with the Celebration Bowl that is obviously tied with the ESPN. Again, so many accolades to mention. We will not take up these gentlemen's time, whether we'd like to really get into the conversation. So with that, let's start with Duer, if you would. Talk a little bit about yourself in regards to where you're from. We touched on it a little bit, but more importantly, how you got into business.
Okay. Well, good afternoon, everyone. You have to excuse my dress. I normally don't dress like this, but we have a football game tomorrow.
He is working.
We're working over at NRG. Teams are starting to practice. Alcorn just left and Gramblin's on their way in the building. So this is our normal gear for Friday before game day, so you have to excuse me. Like you said, originally I'm from New Jersey. I'm from Camden, New Jersey. It's about a mile from Philadelphia. Grew up there. Went to high school, Woodrow Wilson High School, played football, was a highly recruited student athlete coming out of high school. So decided to go to the University of Wisconsin, where I majored in Afro-American Studies. I was going to teach. I thought that was my calling, so I was waiting to become a professor. And along the way, decided to get my master's degree from Wisconsin, and then just really wanted to get into athletic administration. I saw a lot of my friends who I played football with really struggle when they didn't have that structure in their life anymore, when they didn't have practice, training table, practice, training table. They struggled with just kind of getting back into society and just being a normal person. When you're a student athlete at a school like, you know, Texas Southern, Wisconsin, you really are, appreciate it, you're more, you're isolated. You're really kept away from the regular student body. You really just, athletes stay with athletes and the student body stays with the student body. So that was really what drove me to get into athletic administration, when I saw my friends really struggle with just getting back into society. I was fortunate enough to get an internship at the Big Ten Conference, and unlike most folks, I didn't get my internship when I was, you know, 18, 19. I had graduated from Wisconsin, went to the city of Charlotte, lived there for some time, and just decided that I didn't really want to work a job anymore. I'm just working a job to pay bills, and I wanted a career. And at the age of 28, I was an intern at the Big Ten. So when you're 28 and you only make $18.5 in Chicago, it's kind of tight on you what you have to do. So, but I wouldn't trade it for anything. It really helped me to form my foundation as an administrator working for Jim Delaney at the Big Ten Conference. And my immediate boss, or my direct report, was Robert Vowles, who was the associate commissioner at the time at the Big Ten. He went on to become the commissioner at the SIAC, and then he became the commissioner of the SWAC. And when he got to the SWAC, he called me and said, "Hey, I need some help, can you come down?" And basically started as the assistant commissioner, moved up to the associate commissioner. Robert left, he took a job at the NCAA, and they named me the interim commissioner for 1 year, and then they named me the commissioner in 2008, and I've been the commissioner ever since. So, you know, I really do enjoy what I do. I enjoy helping student athletes, and you know, and I appreciate all the support we get from SWAC supporters and fans and all that. So, just really grateful for being here with you all today, and you know, and hopefully I can help you by answering any questions that you have, and go from there.
Thank you, Sean. With that same question in regards to your background, if you would share with us, John.
First, let me say I've known Commissioner Starr for some time, and it's great to hear his background and story. Very impressive it is. But you know, and so my journey is somewhat similar. I'm from a small town in North Carolina. Grew up on a farm, oldest of 5. First one in my family to go to college. I think my father went as far as the 8th grade, and my mom went as far as the 9th grade. So that was the folks' extent of their education, but they believed in it, and so they made sure all of their kids had college education. So I left, went to North Carolina A&T with the intent of majoring in art. I was a very good art student, but got to school and realized that, you know what, the money that people were making was in engineering. So I changed my major to industrial engineering, and that's what I pursued. Now, I haven't worked a day in that field in my life, but it's probably the best education that I could have gotten about problem solving, how to develop situations, and really creating opportunities from those. After that, working a part-time job because I had to pay my way through college. And so after that, I worked at night with a company called Airborne Express in transportation. When I finished, they hired me on in Greensboro, moved me from there to Greenville, South Carolina. I was about 24, running an operation with trucks and planes, and close to about 100 employees at 24 years old. And ended up in Atlanta as they recruited me to come to Atlanta to run the region operation there, and worked in a number of different capacities: customer service, operations, ran the accounting department, and then decided, after looking at what my career path was going to be, I looked at the top of the organization and realized everyone there had some sales experience, and so I really took a demotion to move over into sales to get that experience. And similar to what Commissioner Sharp was saying, I mean, I took a huge cut in pay to do that, but I wanted that experience. Ended up being successful there, as you heard, become the CEO of 100 Black Men of Atlanta, and our purpose was working with young people, and so that's what we did, and as a result, also ran the Atlanta Football Classic. But I will tell you, this opportunity with the Celebration Bowl has been a tremendous opportunity for me, and you hear the saying that it's not what you know, it's also who you know. Well, you know, this guy sitting next to me was instrumental in that, in my making this journey, because I sat with him on a couple of different occasions to ask his advice, what he thought about it, and then, you know, hey, once I made a decision, I asked for his support to the people at ESPN. So, you know, I consider Commissioner Sharp not just a friend, but also, you know, he has demonstrated to me and reinforced what we already know, that when you know, when you make friends and try to do quality work, you know, their support becomes invaluable. So I'm here in this role in part because of him and his counterpart also at the MEAC, Commissioner Thomas. Both of them were people that I sought counsel with, and both gave me advice, and I appreciate that. I haven't said that to him publicly, but I'll say that. Do I appreciate it? Thank you.
Yeah. Certainly. I'm glad that HBCU Athletic Research Consortium Conference brings people together and have a chance where you can actually open up in that way. Again, I know your schedule is very busy, so we won't hold you much longer. We took about 20 minutes, and I want to make sure that people out here get some questions. So the last part of my discussion as we look at the state of HBCU Athletic is just talk about, if you would, Executive Director John Grant, talk about your role and what are your responsibilities as the Executive Director of the Celebration Bowl that's connected with this game.
Well, my responsibilities as the bowl director is to oversee all the aspects of the bowl, from revenue generation to implementation of it, to creating all the things that are experiential for the players, for the administration, for the fans, and to deliver a quality product, you know, to all of those constituents. The key reason why it was interesting to me was because you heard something mentioned in Commissioner Sharp's bio about innovation. You know, the two commissioners were very much forward-thinking in conceptualizing, but also agreeing to the formation of the Celebration Bowl. This is a very historic and a very opportune platform for HBCUs. This is a game changer. It is a game changer. You know, when you consider that, and I'll just speak relative to the SWAC, the storied history of the Southwestern Athletic Conference in football. Tomorrow, a great championship that these teams play to get to. At the top of the season, every school plays to be in a bowl game. And you know that all roads now for the SWAC lead through Houston. You have to walk away with this championship in order to punch your ticket to come now to Atlanta. So we see, and what we've seen is that across both conferences, the level of intensity and desire of the student athletes and coaches to now know that they've got a postseason event to play for really has changed, in my view, how people see the administration and coaches and players see what their role is, what the opportunity is to be on a national platform on network television. And so that's that's the way that I believe that this will impact HBCU football for years to come.
Absolutely. And Commissioner Sharp, if you would follow up with that in regards to the operational and leadership component for being a commissioner, particularly for those that may not really understand, we hear the term, we do that, but what does that mean in terms of the operational leadership side? What are your responsibilities as a commissioner?
Sure. I mean, well, the technical term is you're the chief executive officer of a conference, or the administrative head of a conference. So my role is on a daily basis you know, I am over the daily operations of the Southwestern Athletic Conference. So that's from a standpoint of marketing, licensing, payroll, wire transfers. I pretty much do everything because it is it all begins and ends with me. So if something goes wrong, it's my fault. If something goes right, it's my presidents that have gotten that done. So I'm not here to take any credit for anything. I just work extremely hard every day. I expect my staff to work extremely hard every day. And there's no excuse, there's no substitute for hard work. If you're gonna work hard, whatever you want, you can have it. So, you know, again, I say that as somebody who was 28 and I was making 18.5, and I'm, you know, 47 now, and I make a hell of a lot more than 18.5. But I worked at it, and I mean, when people were going home, I was working, and when they came back, I was still there working. And that was just, you know, it's kind of like a do or die situation for me. It was like, if this does not work, then what is the next thing I'm supposed to do? So I just really committed myself to be the best administrator that I could be. You know, when you're dealing with licensing and you deal with vendors, you pretty much, it makes you a well-rounded administrator. And at the same time, I report to 10 presidents. You know, for all you who go to TSU, Dr. Lane that's my boss. He's one of my bosses. So I met with him yesterday and the other 9 presidents, and we had a very good meeting. But you have to be able to be multifaceted. I have to be able to step into a meeting room and conduct a meeting in a business-like manner, and then go put on a jogging suit, go lift boxes, make sure people do their, you know, they show up for practice, and then I have to go turn around and supervise my staff and make sure they're doing what they're supposed to do. So, and this is on a, you know, a day-to-day basis. You know, I've been here since Monday. I've had at least 15 meetings, and you meet with the Texans, you meet with Toyota Center, because that's where our basketball tournament is. So it's always some place to be, always some person to meet with. And then, of course, when you have a championship game, there's always people calling you going, can I get tickets and things of that nature. So it's just, you know, and I don't have an administrative assistant. I don't have that buffer. When I was the associate commissioner, I was the buffer for Commissioner Val. So he would put all them people off on me, and they wouldn't mess with him. But for me, I believe in being accessible to a certain extent. I'm accessible. But when it gets to, can I get a jogging suit like you have, or can I get a shirt like you have, I'm not accessible anymore at that point.
So we know those are not the questions.
It depends. If you want to volunteer, you know,
yes,
we got shirts for folks who volunteer, and, you know, we got a lot of, you know, SWAC folk over there volunteering right now. But, you know, being the administrative head, you really just, you have to, you're in charge of everything, because if it goes downhill, it's your fault. So I really just try to stay on top of my staff. And then when we have our projects, we have our, you know, we have our goals and we have our benchmarks. So we know if we're within the goal that we've set, and you know when you're not. So it's always good to have that plan, and then within that plan to have those benchmarks that kind of tell you if you're on track or not. So for me, you know, in leadership, that's just, I kind of take it from, you can't lead. If you're not willing to serve, you can't be a leader. You know, so when I was interning, I was serving. When I was the associate commissioner, I served the commissioner. You know, so it was my job and my charge to take care of the commissioner. So he didn't have to worry about the little things, and I took care of those things. And I believe that because of serving him, I believe that's why I'm the commissioner now, because, you know, I served him, and I think that's an important part of leadership people don't really understand, especially younger folks. You know, you graduate from college and you want to be the CEO, and you don't even know what payroll looks like. You don't even know the taxes that come out of payroll and things of that nature. So I think, you know, it's always good to start by serving, and then you'll learn to be a leader as you serve.
Yes, and that's part of our, go ahead.
One thing, because Commissioner Sharp touched on something. And you have a unique opportunity here in Houston. He talked about volunteering. There aren't a lot of opportunities where you can be a part of something as big as the SWAC championship on a volunteer basis, to really see an event like that from the inside. And the way to do that is by volunteering. I mean, and when you have an opportunity like that, if you're a student in this room, let me tell you, there shouldn't be a person in this room that's not raising their hand to go over and support and volunteer and see how the business of a major event is run. I will tell you, that's the easiest way to get not only experience, but also to get noticed by using the term he called serving, but volunteering was one of the key aspects for me, and I will encourage that. You have that here with this championship.
Do those, I'm sorry to interrupt, do those same opportunities exist for students at the celebration fund?
Absolutely. We have right now, I'm going to add.
No, Central.
Well, I'm talking about you're teaching.
No, I won't really understand.
I was going to bring over the Eagles. I'm trying to figure that.
Absolutely. We encourage that.
No problem. Julie, I think that's important that we get that out there. In fact, the way we're going to do our questions, we're going to keep this to 10 minutes. Because again, I don't want to hold up the time. We're going to go through our students, faculty, and then we're going to have our service leaders that are in the community ask the questions last. As I get into that, a couple of my students over here, I know you are a volunteer for the SWAC, so I want you to be acknowledged. She actually comes to class with SWAC gear on because she's volunteering. I was like, that's nice, I don't have one of those. She said, you just volunteer.
Exactly.
So the point has been matched there, and we're going to make sure we get a lot more students involved to our sports development program. So thanks for the opportunity. Actually, some of them not here because, as you said, they're volunteering with some of your other outside organizations that are going on now. Let me let you ask the first question. We'll get a couple of questions in from the students. We'll go to our faculty, and then we'll go to our community leaders.
Thank y'all for being here. Angel Corona, TSU student, sport management degree student program. 2 questions. What obstacles is the SWAC presented with when trying to strike an apparel for a sponsorship deal? Today we actually did a mock negotiation. One of us was the SWAC, the other team was either Nike, Adidas, Under Armour, and if there are any obstacles, are there any opportunities for students to help tackle these obstacles?
I don't think we have any, challenges when it comes to negotiating. The thing is, you're 10-member institutions, and then you're 11 entities when you include the conference office, and we have so much more strength together. So when I go to the negotiation, when I fly to Beaverton and I sit down with Kit Morris, who's over Nike College Marketing, and I say I have over 40,000 student athletes, that speaks volumes to him. You understand? Because we don't have the numbers of a University of Texas or something like that, but we have numbers. So, and then negotiating is really facts. It's not, we feel good. Yeah, you might feel good, but these numbers don't make me feel good. You understand what I'm saying? So you have to come in there with your facts and make sure that, especially when it comes to numbers, that your economic impact, so we signed our apparel deal with Russell. Russell gives each school X amount of dollars in free apparel. So when you look at that times 10, times the amount of years, you're probably looking at maybe $10 to $12 million economic impact. Whereas you look at a Nike, they signed a deal with or Michigan, who signs a deal with Brand Jordan, and you're probably looking at $300 million economic impact. So again, when you look at the numbers, you come into that negotiating room with your numbers. Now some of it is relationship based. I wouldn't even get in that room if I didn't know Kit Morris from when I worked at the Big Ten. I wouldn't even get in that room most likely. But because I know him and I built a relationship with him, and that relationship was not built on, can I get some Jordans today, or can I get something from you? I came in that room with my 10-member institutions and with a mission in mind to make sure that we were going to be partners when I left. And we were partners when I left that room. So I think negotiating is all facts, but a lot of it is also relationship building. So that first meeting you have with that, it's more like, hey, let's go to lunch, or let's go play some golf, or let's go do something that you like to, because you have to get to know that person. And I think a lot of times people don't take the time to get to know the person that they're negotiating with. So before I walk into a meeting with a person, I've read their bio probably 3 or 4 times. because there might be something in their bio that tells me, you know, I want the A&T, you want the A&T.
No, it's essential.
Well, that's your fault. But, you know what I'm saying?
Let's see whose fault it is.
Well, y'all gonna lose. I ain't even
Let the games begin!
No, we let A&T up the hook last year. We didn't let nobody.
I've never seen a competitive person let somebody on the hook. Might speak to you competitive.
No. I've won, you know, Big Ten championships, so I'm pretty good on the competitive part. But I just think that it's what you do when you come into your question in negotiating. Have your facts ready. Know the person that you're negotiating with, and make sure it's a relationship.
Certainly, and he's being modest. He was one of the two teams, and the gentleman next to him, they were on the team that went up for the championship in regards to the sports negotiations. Started in the classroom, you couldn't even get here unless you could get out of the classroom.
We actually won. Yeah, they won.
I was going to let you know. And they got a grand prize of $250 split, and runner-up team was really good in terms of what they did, so they give $150. So we're going to push it up as we get this going, but I did want to acknowledge that they are part of it. And they made that point in the class. So they got that information. They looked at the Nike deal in terms of reports.
Yeah.
And they looked at the rough. Many people in the class said, why would we go with Nike? I said, you're making the discussion you talk about. And they saw the numbers. The numbers were not there and justified. And everybody said, well, I see why we go.
Yeah, I get that a lot.
Nobody really understands it. So I thought that was an important lesson.
Yeah, definitely. And I think a lot of people focus on brand. And brand, I love brand. Everybody loves Nike or Adidas or whatever it may be. But when you're dealing with very thin budgets, you know, I have a school in the SWAC, their athletic budget's only $4 million. You know, I mean, Carl Anthony Town makes $25 million. And the budget is $4 million. You have to go with Russell when you look at it, just because of it relaxes the budget. It allows us to stretch those dollars a little bit further. So when people come up to me and go, why SWAC not Nike? MEAC's Nike and SWAC's not Nike. You have to look at the numbers. It's not about brand all the time.
One follow-up question, any students have a follow-up question before we go to our faculty?
Brandon Smith, Texas Southern University sports management student. What's some of the goals for SWAC going forward?
Oh man, to continue to grow the football championship here in Houston. Hopefully move the SWAC office here back to Houston. We were founded in Houston in 1920. And then to continue to grow the basketball tournament in Toyota Center. You know, those are our two largest revenue generating championships. And it's a trickle down. The more money that we can generate from those two championships, I can do more things with tennis and golf and soccer and things of that nature, and also provide a nice distribution back to our member institutions. So I would say right now, those are my top three.
Thank you. With that, let's go to our faculty.
I think you see here.
You have a follow-up question? Sorry, thank you for that.
No problem.
Hello, I'm Nicole Smith, sports management and minor management. I have a question about the volunteering. Actually, the process in volunteering, and I want to be a sports broadcaster. Okay. So as far as the process, are there young volunteers that actually go in and say interview coaches, interview the players, or anything going on as far as trying to get volunteers? Is there anything going on?
Sure. We have SWAC Digital Network, and we have a lot of Gotti. Gotti was the two-time SWAC Women's Basketball Player of the Year. I forget her first name right now, but something like that, yeah. And she wanted to get into broadcasting. And she came to me, she came to the SWAC basketball tournament and said, can you help me? And we actually gave her the platform. She now works for ESPN, doing games. So I have a lot of students who come up to me at, they might recognize me at a basketball game or a football game and go, I want to volunteer with SWAC Digital Network. And it just leads to, from being behind the camera to being in front of the camera. And then from there, it's up to you. What happens from there?
Thank you for answering the question. Thank you for pointing it out. Let's go to our faculty now. We'll come back to these. Let's go to our faculty.
Thank both.
Oh, go ahead.
You already had 2 shots.
Not him, man.
Commissioner, I want to ask you, how did your background in African American studies, how did it prepare you for what you're doing now?
He's the director of African American Studies at the university.
I'm gonna tell you the truth. For me, it gave me a sense of really knowing who I was, and where things that where we had come from.
Yeah.
A lot of times people don't get into that. Again, I wanted to teach, but then when I got into athletic administration, but that's a part of my foundation also.
Right.
A lot of people don't know about Richard Wright and the things that I had to read about in my dissertation and all that kind of stuff. So I take it with me every day.
So 2 questions. I hear black college football is experiencing a resurgence. What exactly does that mean, and is that kind of across the board at all HBCUs? And 2, as an African American Studies scholar, you appreciate this. Being from CIAA and MEAC country and having done research, there is no central archive for various reasons. A lot of that stuff is scattered. So there's a proud history there. So I'm wondering, are you guys taking steps to, I know you're taking steps now, it's easy to archive things, but what are you doing to, I guess, reclaim or archive that history that's already happened? Or is SWAC taking some steps to do that?
I'll let you answer the first.
To answer the question, yes. The first question, is there a resurgence? I'm a believer that there's always been good quality product that HBCUs have put on the field. The problem was no one knew about it, other than the people who went to games. As the SWAC and the MEAC conferences entered into their relationships with ESPN to begin to broadcast games, schools got more visibility. The players play for that. They're recruited based on who's going to see them play. As events like the SWAC Championship grows, and as ESPN televises that, and now with the Air Force Reserve Celebration Bowl being on national network television. I mean, there are only 4 of the 42 bowl games on network television. The first game of the first one of the bowl season is the Air Force Reserve Celebration Bowl, which puts those athletes on a platform.
One more time. I'm not sure if everybody caught that.
That the first bowl game opening the bowl season is the Air Force Reserve Celebration Bowl. 11.8 million people watched North Carolina A&T and Alcorn play last year. 2.3 million of those were African American. Let me repeat that, 2.3 African American. That means 11.5 million other people watched watched these 2 historically black college conferences and universities open the college football bowl season. Second highest ratings of any sports program across all networks on that day, exceeded only by the game that followed us on ABC. So we got lead-in credit for that game. That is unprecedented for our universities, but also for our programs. And what that also does, it elevates it for everyone. So now there's a great level of interest, and you're going to see more this year, because we had a short one last year, of us talking about and displaying other institutions during the game on the network, because we believe that, highlighting the teams that are there, we should also be highlighting the universities that are part of the conference. This is a conference rivalry. It's which conference, and that's why the commissioner, I love his response to your statement, because he was speaking up for his conference. So it's the conference that takes home the trophy. The university happens to represent their conference. And so as participants or participating schools in those conferences, all fans should be coming. All fans should be. If you can't come, watch it. If you can't watch it, turn your television on anyway. And if you can come, time your television to come on at 12 noon, come to the game, and let us get the ratings and your presence.
Is this translating into revenue?
Absolutely. That's
kind of across the board. I know you can't speak for every conference, but
sure. But let me say this. This is what it really means, and I'll end my comments on this segment. there's a study done about the economics of football. So, 2 examples. Alabama won 4 national championships. Here's where the money is. It's not in what they get paid to play the game or win the national championship. In the 4 years that they won the national championship, there are out-of-state student entrants who paid 2.5 times more than in-state students, went up 60%. That's where the money is, in student recruitment. And the more you get in that, then it drives revenue back to athletics. Why? You pay student fees. And that money becomes a cycle. So North Carolina A&T saw their applications for the fall go up 90%. Their student entrance of the applications, the student who entered this fall, was a record in the history of the school. Alcorn State experienced the same thing on their side. So this, guys, the economics of sport, as the commissioner said, it drives all of this. So the visibility is just giving us a platform to show what we already knew. We already knew that these guys were out there. And now that we have Grambling being ranked this year, North Carolina Central was ranked, FCS ranked, you know, A&T was ranked. I don't know if that's the first time, but it's been a while since we've had 3 HBCUs ranked in the top 25 FCS.
And in regards to the archives, yes, SWAC, we lost a lot of ours. It was in New Orleans during Katrina. So we lost a lot of our, archives. So.
CIAA lost a lot of theirs in the 70s because of a flood in Norfolk. Yeah. So are there, but I guess because I do know a lot, are there steps being taken to kind of put it back together?
Sure, yeah. We work with our schools. We work with former commissioners, Dr. James Frank, who has a lot of SWAC, archives. Memorabilia, things of that nature. He had a lot of it, and we didn't know. But we'll still work with him to get a lot of that back and make sure that we preserve it.
Also with this, I want to make sure that we put this out there. He is a historian. Okay. So he does that. So we'll make sure you all exchange information to see if you have the platform to help with this process, which is part of our process. Sure. Please follow up, and then I'll come.
Okay. For both of you, Mr. Sharp, you mentioned establishing relationships, so I know y'all time is limited, you have to go, but I would like to briefly talk to you because I would like to work on establishing a relationship with you. And talk about some things that I think could be helpful for the SWAC, and I'm a product of the SWAC also. Okay. And also with yourself, because you talk to the students, and I appreciate my students all the time at Voorhees College, and professor at Voorhees College, and coordinator for the sports management program, is you have to put yourself in situations, on major situations that might not even require a lot of your time, but it's the impact of the people that you might be around. Sure. And so I would like for myself and through Dr. Cavill that we will be able to meet, because I'm a face-to-face person. When this bowl is over, hopefully we can set something up. Good. And I can come to Birmingham, and we can also set some. Are you in Atlanta? Atlanta. In Atlanta. I'm not far from you in Augusta. And so maybe we can establish a relationship.
Look forward to it. He does a lot of work in terms of with the various conferences, including the SEC, in terms of drug prevention. So a lot of his background work, so I think that relationship with being modest and going to put that out there, but I did want to share that so you understand. Dr. Flowers, please.
Another product of SWAC.
Okay.
I'm teaching at Texas Southern University, undergrad Mississippi Valley State, graduate Brown State University. Also, 2 of your former SWAC interns, way back.
Under who?
You're Rudy?
Rudy,
yeah.
There we go. I apologize for not remembering his name. My question is, there's a lot of emphasis in masculinity in regards to SWAC. I heard you speak of goals for the conference. Do any of those goals include enhancement or enrichment of women's sports? And if you don't have plans, I have plans and I'm willing to help.
Enhancement. We really do. We do a lot of with women's sports and SWAC Digital Network. You have to understand, and I don't think, again, this is not something everyone would know, but with the inception of the SEC ESPN agreement, that took a lot of exposure from SWAC. When we first started, we had 8 football games on, 4 women's basketball games, 8 men's basketball games. And when the SEC agreement came into play, all the women exposures went away. Women went from 4 to 0. So now what we do is we really highlight our women's sports on SWAC Digital Network. So when you log on there, you're going to see volleyball, soccer, softball, basketball, because we feel like, I mean, for me, I love watching volleyball. So I go to a lot of volleyball matches because it's just a fast-paced sport. But we really want to look toward enhancing the exposure for those sports, especially women's sports. And for us, it's really just something we feel like we should do. It's not, when you think of SWAC, everybody thinks football. Everybody thinks, but for me, that's really not the point. We really just want to provide the exposure for the young ladies. They work extremely hard. They're very competitive. And I think we do a good job of doing that. I think our presidents, our athletic directors, and our senior women administrators really do a great job of highlighting those sports and those student athletes. And a lot of them are very good from an intern standpoint. We had a bunch who are interns at Nike from TSU. I forget her name, but she's interned with Nike twice now, I believe. So, and what we really want people to do is to understand. We just entered into a partnership with the NFL for a professional development program that'll take place at Celebration Bowl. And it's not just for student athletes, it's for regular students.
You can be represented, the one that championship Angel, both of those gentlemen.
So you'll be in Atlanta. See what I'm saying? So, and I think that's what it's about. And when we sat down with Troy Vincent and Damani Leach, Dr. Thomas and myself, we had the goal in mind, and the goal was, 1 was opportunity, and 2 was jobs. We wanted to give people opportunity to build relationships. If I don't go to Wisconsin, I don't know Troy Vincent, so I don't get into that room. But now it's through him, you meet everybody. I've met people with almost darn near every NFL team, because of my relationship with him. So I think, it's all there from a women's standpoint, but it's not just all football players in that room. There are women's tennis players, women golf, student athletes that will be in Atlanta in that session.
Dr. Hawkins.
One of the things that the Research Consortium, we want to make our stuff accessible, and this is part of the question we're dealing with. If you outsource any of your research, I know you were talking about both the SWAC and Celebration, when we have thin budgets. Well, we have warm bodies to do research, whether feasibility studies,
right,
or quantitative impact. So we want to make our stuff accessible. If you don't have those types of personnel in place.
Okay.
One thing I believe in, I'm sure the commission does, is data. And in every place where we can utilize the accumulation of data that can be utilized, we can use to advance the missions of our organization, wide open for that. So I'm sure we're both are open to that support.
We'll make sure that we help facilitate that relationship to get that going. Now, I think that'll do it with the faculty in terms of those questions. With that, so let's go to our community leaders and ask for any follow-up questions.
Yes, I can see going with Youth Taking Action for Life and IS Creative Graphics. Pastor, retired police officer, 27 years. Coached college football at Texas Southern University from 1981 to 1983. I was currently graduated from Central State University in 1979. I was 2-time All-American linebacker. Raising with those from Raiders, we got in a fight over one day. They offered me $250. I wanted $5. Anyway, I have several questions, but I'm just going to two.
Sure.
One, being historians that you are, have you read, both gentlemen, have you got a chance to read Frederick Douglass's last actual paper, The Lessons of the Hour?
I have not.
Oh God, you have to take the time to Google it. Frederick Douglass, The Lessons of the Hour.
Okay.
It chronicles everything that's going on right now. So it allows for us to take the history and bring it to the forefront. My other question is this. Is there any way possible that we can beef up our numbers when we go into those rooms for negotiation by somehow allowing for the Celebration Bowl, the championship, the National Black College Championship, if you will, to represent all 105 members that participate in football? Because what it does is it increases the numbers somehow, although we know everybody has their individual conferences and such, but this is the cream of the crop. Does that make sense? Sure. Because when Alabama and the Final Four play, somehow they represent all the colleges that play football. Although you have individual conferences, different levels. Sure. And I think if we could buy into that, and then one more thing, just real quickly. My wife and I have our services at HBU, Houston Baptist University, on Saturdays from 10 to 2. The administrators, the coaches, and they drifted in from time to time. So now they want me to start having workout programs or some of the programs that I'm introducing into the community, and now help them to recruit athletes through that program. This year, HBU beat Texas Southern in football. Yeah. And their program is growing mightily. But what they're doing is they're actually getting out there and they're trying to let individuals know you can be a big fish in a small pond, and they'll find you if you can play on the next level. Thanks for giving me that.
That's perfect. Thank you. And y'all have a follow-up response for that?
I want to respond to something you said about the bowl, and is there a way to get all of the HBCUs involved? Yes. Support it. You don't, you mentioned Alabama and others. There is a difference because you don't see FBS schools playing FCS or Division III or whatever in the championship games. But yet, because the championship game has become so big, it does give a tendency to represent all of football. Although that's not factually the case. It's not factually the case.
Perception.
Well, that's where I'm going.
Okay, go ahead.
Perception is reality. Support the Air Force Reserve Celebration Bowl. Make it the same. And that as a result, as it grows, it can't help but to impact all the other schools at the different levels in different conferences. Why? Because athletes will begin to look at HBCUs. I'm a firm believer of this. I think right now is the time our student athletes are going to look to start coming home. I think you've seen that we've seen that in the SWAC with what's happening with Grambling is a perfect example. They want to play, but they also want to be seen playing. They want to be able to be seen. And so the platform that now the conferences have with ESPN, their games televised, working towards something as big as the SWAC championship, and then an opportunity after that to come to the Celebration Bowl. That's why people play the game. Now, I wasn't a college football player, but Commissioner Sharp was. But I can tell you without question that everywhere I go and everywhere we've been, that's the talk. I will tell you this, and I'm going to give North Carolina Central a little bit of credit here. I'm going to give it to the university, because on Sunday, after winning the game and becoming the conference champion, Sunday my phone started ringing. It demonstrated to me that the administration and everyone else was excited about the next level. And the final thing for me was being at that game, the response from the students who rushed the field before the game was even over. That's what we have to get to what you're talking about. Listen, we're still just a baby. We've only had 1 year under our belt. I mean, we're still getting up on our feet to walk. Give this thing a few years. and give us all the opportunity to get used to it, to modify it, to grow it. Commissioner just mentioned the NFL now involved around it. It's coming, but we have to be patient, but we also have to be committed.
With that,
It's kind of a short question. How are y'all doing? I'm Drew Brown. I had a question about HBCU football teams specifically taking on games with bigger PWIs and getting lots of funding for it, getting lots of resources or pay for taking those games. But how do those games seemingly affect, positively and negatively, affect, I guess, the state of HBCU football? For instance, if a team like Texas was to take on a team like TSU, obviously it would pay them a lot of money to do so, but the win-loss category, we would see a lot of losses with bigger teams like that. But how does that affect? Obviously, it affects the revenue generated by that team, but also it affects sort of the athletic standing of those teams as well. How does it affect, and you see it affecting in the future?
Sure. I think when I was the interim athletic director at Grambling, you know, with Grambling, it's a name, you know, so the Grambling's like the Notre Dame of HBCUs. So people always want to play Grambling. So my phone used to ring a lot from Florida, you know, in Florida State. And what I used to tell the coach was to be smart. Be smart about who you're about to play, because when they unleash on you, I mean, your team might not recover for the entire year, just based on injury alone, you know. So we turned down in Florida, and that was during the Tim Tebow era, and you don't want to go down there and have them put 80 or 70 points up on you, and you wind up being beat up. We chose to go to Pittsburgh, and still got a large amount of money, but we were able to compete with them much more than we would versus the University of Florida. Now, I would say the negative is morale. You know, you get beat down a lot. I think everybody looks to Savannah State the one year when they played at Oklahoma, and then they played up at Florida State. I'll allow it one time. Twice, that's too much. To play up 2 times in 1 year, you're asking for a lot of a football team. One time early in the year, that's okay, because everybody has to reach their benchmark as far as revenue. But that's what I would tell you. I would say be smart. There's no need to go play at Notre Dame, or no need to go play at USC. But we can go right down the street and we can go play, you know, again, you can play at Pittsburgh, or you can play at Temple or someone like that, and you can be competitive.
Can I add to that real quick? Because I think what you're also seeing, our teams are becoming more competitive. I mean, Grambling had Arizona to the quarterback.
Yeah.
North Carolina A&T beat, you know, they won their Division I game this year. But other games were very close. So there are 2 sides to that from my point of view. The commissioner is absolutely correct. Be smart in who you choose to play. But the players also get another kind of experience that they would not necessarily get, in my opinion. You know, to go into a stadium, you have a large crowd. There's value in playing in that and getting a feel for that. You don't want to take your players somewhere you know they're really going to get a beat down, but you want them to be competitive, but also take away a learning of what it's like to be on a big stage. So that when they get to the big stages we have, they're much more comfortable. Grambling's going to be very comfortable tomorrow. Why? Because they played on a big stage, they've been there before, etc. That's what I think is happening as we become more competitive. I really do believe, and I'll end it with this, our students are going to start coming home. Athletes are now, you know, what we have to do.
Why do you think that? You said it 2 or 3 times.
I said it because the environment, I'm just being real.
I mean, we're in a Trump era, so
the times, and parents are waking up.
Okay.
Parents are waking up in the sense that when they're sending their kids off to think that they're giving them an education, and they're getting an education. It's not the one that you would hope that they would get, always. And I'm not saying this is a case across the board. Don't get me wrong. But there is a reason that universities separate athletes from the student body and keep them separated. But also that student doesn't really get a full college experience. So that's my opinion. I think when you start seeing the drip from the faucet, That means the faucet is opening up. Opportunities like Celebration Bowl. I'm hoping that coaches and team recruiters are now going with a different message. That, hey, look, you want to be seen over there? You can be seen over here. Take a look at this game, the SWAC Championship, nationally televised. Take a look at these other games that are televised. SWAC was on how many SEC channels this year?
Quite a few.
Quite a few.
Right.
So it's, believe me.
But you saying, but you ain't, you giving us the court, I want the soulful answer. You saying, but you ain't saying. Right?
I'm saying to you.
We're a Trump era, you say they come up, why they coming back?
Because of the environments that HBCUs provide. They're educating our kids, not just in the books, but when you leave as Black Lives Matter, right? Well, I'm not saying that. But I want to Coach Broadway in an interview. Coach Broadway in an interview with the undefeated. Coach Broadway in an interview with the undefeated. In the interview with the undefeated, Coach Broadway, who has been played at all, coached at all levels, said the reason he enjoys being in the HBCU because it gives him as a coach an opportunity to deal with the whole person. That at the other big time programs, those athletes were a commodity. They were there for the business of the university. And at HBCUs, it's very different. It's very different because we take responsibility for the whole person to develop that individual, not just for you to come out and play a game, make us money, and after your playing days are over, thank you very much, goodbye. That's why they don't come back to homecoming. Where did you go? My point is,
but I guess one of the things that we would argue on the other side of the table is that in the Black Lives Matter, Black schools are experiencing increased applications and admissions, and I think what we're saying and what you're saying is two sides of the same coin. Parents are waking up, and of course the conferences are getting more exposure, and that is one of the things that kids do really want. But in the current climate, HBCUs applications, especially the already bigger ones, are experiencing more applications. And it probably has to do with seeking a conducive environment like you're talking about.
With that last question.
Hello, my name is Dr. Jasmine Hamilton. I'm over at Prairie View A&M University. And I also, too, echo the sentiments of Dr. Hawkins, too, as well, with the research consortium, to work with in-house because we're all here, and then also, too, with Dr. Flowers with the female president aspect. But my question is, because you all talked about the conference and having everybody to go for your conference. And so it does not matter because I'm in PV and we didn't make it, but still going to support Grambling because they're coming from our conference. I got my doctorate from LSU. I'm from Louisiana. I didn't care about LSU football, but it's like it's something there that indoctrinates you. And so even if still within that conference, they're in the SEC conference, you still go for it. If LSU doesn't make it, the conference, SEC conference person, whoever goes, the team that goes up. But so my question is about cultivating that sense of community within a conference and not just within the school. Do you all from the SWAC and from the SWAC have any ways of being liaisons to the campuses as well, other than sports management departments, because at Prairie View don't have a sports management department, and other than too the athletic directors, because I know they have a lot on their plates. Sure. I know they do as much as they can, but I guess too, my question is, do you all have a source of having liaisons to campus outside of those entities, or what are ways in which we can cultivate that to have more so of that, community within the conference, and then therefore rolling into the things that you all are doing, which I want to say are awesome, by the way, too, as well. Thank you for that forward thinking in both areas.
Sure. No, well, thank you for the question. And I think what you just said really kind of goes to what John was saying about Celebration Bowl. Normally, you would get the mindset is, well, my team's not in it, so I'm not going. Or I'm not going to watch because my team's not in it. But when you can watch somebody from LSU, people who ain't even graduate, never even stepped on campus at LSU, love LSU. That's the difference. When I played in Wisconsin, guys grow up from Fond du Lac, Wisconsin, all they want to do is be a Badger since the time they're little. So when I meet them and we beat up on them every day, they loved it. They loved it when they come out there because they get a chance to put the helmet on with the W, and that's all they wanted to ever do. Us, we don't do that. We go, oh, well, you know, I had a guy tell me one time, well, I can use Jackson State's logo. How come? Oh, because I graduated from Jackson State. No, you can't do that. You're ripping the school off. You can't do those things. So we really try to, it's two different dynamics. You know, you'll come in there tomorrow and you'll see largely Grambling, Alcorn. You won't see the people from Southern, from Texas Southern, who didn't make it to the game. But you know what? It's the SWAC championship, so I'm going to the game anyway. No, I'm not going. My team didn't play in it. So things like SWAC football championship, to me, I just call it a homecoming, because the people who do come in there, who are from other SWAC schools, they see somebody in there they haven't seen in years. And the next thing you know, it's just a big homecoming event, but it's a conference-wide homecoming. It's not just for the folks who graduated from Grambling or the folks who graduated from TSU. It's all of us in there together, regardless of who wins, because we're here to represent SWAC. Same thing when I get to Atlanta, whether it's going to be Alcorn or Grambling. Everybody who graduates from Jackson, Alabama State, Alabama A&M, they immediately go straight to Atlanta. So that's our largest school, our largest city, as far as alumni. But last year at that game, that crowd was pretty much Alcorn. There was nobody else really up in there. You know, so for me, we've got to build that where, hey man, I don't care who from SWAC is in it. I'm going.
Well, I do realize since the being at LSU, one thing that I saw that it was very small, but actually very much so impactful. One thing is on the campus, you could not go anywhere with any other schools, like especially going into athletic facilities or anywhere, you cannot enter in there with an Alabama shirt on. Or, you know, any other school, not just Alabama, it's a big rivalry, but any other school.
Sure.
And that's one thing too, I see, and I guess too, I was indoctrinated with that, and then also too, in seeing those LSU logos, we would always see the SEC logo.
Yeah.
So it was always that visual, you would always see it, so subconsciously, consciously, or whatever was always there. That's one thing that I don't see now being, I mean, I see the PD stuff, but then I see students coming in with Southern, Grambling, whatever, and I'm like, it's great as black, I'm like, but you're a Southern. I mean, you're out of PV, so this is what you need, and there's so small things like that.
Right.
But then always too, not just seeing PV, but seeing SWAC and seeing that all the time.
Right.
That was one huge thing. That's why a lot of people are, what else you got there?
Well, I watch that too. A lot of SWAC championships, you'll see somebody, like you say, from, for example, if you're a PV, but I'll see a student athlete wearing a Sam Houston shirt.
Exactly.
And the teammates won't say anything to him. The teammate won't go take the shirt off. We represent our school. We ain't representing Sam Houston here today. And they just let them get away with it.
I'm gonna say this as we on the time. I think a lot of this we talk about, we have to remember, change starts with you.
Yeah.
So as a professor, one of the first things you can do is you can exercise that freedom within your classroom and let it emanate from there. All my students will tell you one of the first things they do when they come to my classroom, let them come in with something else. We'll stop every discussion we have and leave my room. That is not allowed.
Turn it inside out.
Yeah. You can't do it. They'll tell you that. So one thing we have to understand is while they can help with a lot of things, there's a lot of things we can do as professors. And I think some of the greatest things we come out here and we'll make sure that we do is make sure we exchange this information in such a way that we can start the beginning of the process with us. The reason we have this conference, HBCU Athletic Research Consortium, was purposeful. It was to bring these thinking heads together such that we can create the change. I can't do it alone. We create the change. The relationship I had with you gentlemen, Roger, this is supposed to be a 20-minute conversation, but because it was so impactful, they extended their time. We need to honor that. We need to understand that. It was a purpose that this conference was set the week of the SWAC championship game, so we can partake in the culture of the SWAC and HBCUs. It's the reason why we are looking at doing something at the Celebration Bowl. So you can come together, you can start that change with yourself. We are activating that with our students. We are raising money from this conference, and we thank you because we will take our students to these games. We will partner to make sure that tickets are purchased for those that come to the conference. So we're going to work with these individuals to do that. But the last thing I will say, make sure you remember, change begins with you.
I I gotta say, my man, because he was scrunching his face up something awful when we were talking.
I think the point that you made, I'm sorry.
Let me purposely do this and why this is important with this. Charles Bishop is a co-host of a radio show we started 2 years ago with KQH. We had to transition to KKPQ. One of the reasons we have a relationship with Commissioner Sharp is the fact that we interviewed him and we provided a positive platform to engage in different things and information get out. So Dr. Phil's inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Charles Bishop and Mike Washington, and that's the reason why you have it.
Mr. Commissioner, you made a profound statement in terms of mentioning how this SWAC championship is a homecoming sort of situation. How do you start, I guess, from the spring all the way until the championship game itself, in marketing just that? Because I've never heard that statement before in terms of how to grow it among more than just the teams that are playing.
Oh man, we do mobile marketing tour, and we take, just like he has his trophy tour, we have our trophy tour. So the Eddie G. Robinson Trophy goes around SWAC, and we hand out the information about the game. Don't worry about it if you don't make it. Now you know what I hear 9 times out of 10 when I'm in Huntsville. Oh man, too far. So even if the Bulldogs made it to NRG, nobody's coming. If it ain't mom, dad, sister, brother, nobody. You think folks from Alabama or LSU say that? No. I'm going. Hey man, we're gonna get in the car. We got 21 hours. You drive 10, I'll drive 11, and let's go. We don't say that. When I go to state, Alabama State, when the championship coming back to Birmingham? Wow, you never came when it was in Birmingham. So why would I bring it back? You know, so that's the only thing I'm saying. We do the mobile marketing tour so people know the date is for the Eddie G. Robinson Trophy. Whoever wins is going to the Celebration Bowl. And everybody that you met at school or may have forgotten that you met at school, there's a chance you might see them at SWAC football championship.
I've been resisting that.
Because I want to add to that, which is a part of what we're doing. We do the market through the chain. So for us, you know, our messages for the SWAC, all roads lead to Atlanta, lead through Houston. And we do that on a constant basis. As a matter of fact, today we put out press releases throughout Houston about the SWAC championship today and the winner coming to Atlanta. So again, we're a baby, we're starting. But what I want you to know is that we are very much in alignment with making sure that everything that we do points to their championship, because it's the championship here that matters most to us, and it matters most to all of you, and to every school regardless. I say again, regardless of whether you're there or not, there are two things that are important, and I'm going to speak from the ESPN side now. We're a media company. We want you to watch it. So if you're in Huntsville, Alabama, and you don't want to drive, one thing you need to do, turn the game on. Why? Because revenue, those ratings drive the revenue that allows us to reinvest back into the university and create that cycle. It's a two-lane highway, but both of the lanes are going in the same direction. So I do want to say again to what the commissioner is saying and for what you said, we have got, and it's new for us. You know, our history is classics. Classics has been rivalries. That's what we've known. You know, having a championship game, I don't know how many years, how old it is now. 16 years for a championship game, but that championship game now has another meaning. It doesn't stop there. That champion, getting that trophy, means you've just punched a ticket to something much bigger, both visually and financially. So this championship means a lot to the SWAC conference. It means a lot to every school in the conference. And the more we grow it, the bigger it becomes, it helps us downstream.
Certainly, I thought you had followed this.
I kind of resisted this but coming from CIAA country, I know what the CIAA tournament is, and it has a tradition, and that tradition was kind of started for a different reason, but it grew into a huge tradition. So I understand you have to grow the tradition of the Celebration Bowl, the SWAC championship, even though it's 16 years old. But I also wanted to emphasize, in that part of the country, regardless of what the quality of CIAA basketball is, its brand is very good. And then so I wanted to ask, is there the brand of SWAC football, the brand of MEAC football, is there something you need to do to improve that, to make people understand the historical relevance of it? And would that help you attract more people to it? Because again, regardless of what CIAA basketball is, attendance is going down at the arena, but the CIAA tournament is still prospering for a number of different reasons. So is this something to do with brand and quality and things of that nature, and people not understanding the historical relevance of it?
I won't say that. I mean, that might be a part of it. But as far as CIAA, you know, and this is something I didn't even know until I happened to be at CIAA. CIAA used to be where all 4 HBCU conferences would go to play.
That's right.
Everybody used to meet at CIAA. And then yeah, you can, but that's fine. But then every kind of broke off. MEAC became MEAC, SWAC became SWAC.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But you all have tradition.
Right.
But now, when you talk to Jackie, in which I do, you know, Jack, the commissioner,
I don't know him, but yeah.
There's not a lot of people in the arena.
Right.
So you're doing a great job helping out Charlotte, but you ain't really doing a great job helping out CIAA. You see what I'm saying? Because they only get paid by ticket sales. I don't get paid by hotel rooms and the drinks that you buy at the club and all that. They don't get paid from that. So that's, for us, our history is football. We do a lot. Steve McNair, Walter Payton, you can go on and on. We have so many NFL Hall of Famers. But I don't think it's more, you know, from a traditional standpoint, we're fine. SWAC football championship, we just have to change the mindset. The mindset is, if my team's not in it, I'm not going.
Right.
And that's just what we have to do. We just have to change the mindset, and we'll do that.
And make it an event.
Exactly.
Like the Super Bowl. You got your 6-year-old lady that never watched the game, but she'll watch the Super Bowl.
It's true.
My wife will watch the Super Bowl.
Right.
With that, I think we've had a very lively, very informative discussion here. And so if you would please put your hands together and acknowledge as well as John Grant, Executive Director of the Celebration Bowl of ESPN. Again, go to the games. If you can't go to the games, turn on the television. If you go to the games, you turn on the television. Turn on the television anyway, automatically, and let's turn it off once it's over. As I added to it, I would say if I was you, I would do all 3. With that, again, please, we're going to close and say thank you.
Thank you.
As we did, and if you can't get them as they're going out, I'll be the conduit and I'll make sure I get that information to the appropriate people in regards to what's going on right now. We'll take a quick break and give you a formal framework of how we're going to close things and what we're working on for some of the latter parts of the conference. Again, thank you, everyone.